So I visited Rabbi Blech, who was an emissary. He was a rabbi in Oceanside, where I was later rabbi for about 10 years after he retired, and he continues to teach. He's written 20 books. He's quite a brilliant man. He writes often in H.com, if you follow, always contemporary things. He was the one that shared the article that I told you about, the reverse eclipse that's coming up in a few years. Crosses at a point called, crosses America, a crisscross, at a town called Little Egypt. Yeah, there you go. Yes, Mitzrayim. So, and you know, there are 6 million Jews in Mitzrayim. Let's face it, in America. So he said that through his contacts, he was invited to the Vatican because John Paul, you could add this to the video if you want. John Paul the First. No, John Paul the Second, excuse me. John Paul the Second, who was considered a righteous Gentile by many. In the Hasidic tales of the Holocaust, there's a story about him returning a Jewish baby to his parents. A couple came to him and said, "We were given this baby by a Jewish family. Let's keep him. Let's make him, raise him as a Christian," which many did, unfortunately. And he said, "No, give it back to the parents." And that child became a Shomer Torah mitzvos, raised it from family. So he has that schluss. On the other hand, there were other things that he did. Okay, he was the Pope. What do you want? So he was sick, and he asked 150 rabbis to come and pray for him, because he believed in the prayers of rabbis. And one of his closest friends, who unfortunately he was Makariv to Christianity, was Cardinal Lustiger, who was the Bishop of Paris, who I was very convinced was going to be the next Pope, who was a Jew, and who on his father's yard site would go to a shul and say Kaddish. And who eventually did say Kaddish at Yad Vashem, which, we didn't take very kindly to. Rabbi Lau was who's the head of Yad Vashem these days, the older Rabbi Lau, Yisrael Lau, wrote about it, took offense at it. But, that's neither here nor there. But it comes out like one of his best friends was a Jew. It was Cardinal Lustiger. And Rabbi Blech told me that because he was part of this prayer gathering, they were going to be allowed to view various artifacts, Jewish artifacts. And he said there's a bishop, I think his name is Mejio, who is in charge of all the Jewish stuff, let's put it that way. He's like their liaison to the Jewish world. And they asked him, how many artifacts do you have in the Vatican of Jewish interest? And he says, about 6 million. Notice the number, 6 million. And he said that they were showed select pages, like they put under glass a few things of Jewish artifacts that they're holding. One of them was an ancient copy of the Rambam, a manuscript of the original Rambam. Now, in the Rambam, there's the laws of marriage. And the beginning of laws of marriage Rambam is very problematic because the Rambam says there that there are 3 ways to get married: Kesef, Shtar, and Kedushin. We usually use Kesef, which is a ring, right? And then there's Shtar, you can have a marital contract. We don't do that anymore. We only use Kesef these days. But the Rambam says that it's a rabbinic kinyan, not a Torah kinyan, which is troublesome because it doesn't seem to add up with the sources. So he saw that on an original manuscript, it says that Kesef is from a kinyan from the Torah. But that's not the point. The point is that people told him, go in and try to look up an old Rambam to resolve this dispute. One of the pages they picked to show out of 3 pages happened to be that page. It was like an unbelievable nace that I said, you did a big favor to the Rambam. You got the Rambam out of the bad press, that was a big mitzvah. But they also inquired what sort of things the Vatican was holding. And he met there a Jew who had devoted his life to studying art. And he apparently was born to a frum family. And he lived in the Vatican. He studied Michelangelo. And he started to tell him that he knows in the art of Michelangelo that there's many, many Kabbalistic symbols. And what Michelangelo did was he really hated the church and he hated the popes. But he was paid to do this. Probably, who knows what would happen to him if he didn't. So he painted many things into the walls of the Sistine Chapel ceiling that were symbols that were against church teachings. That they were kind of pro-Jewish, anti-Christian. But they snuck them in so nobody could see them. So he wrote a book getting the art information from this man, and he matched it with sources in Kabbalah and Jewish sources, and it's called The Sistine Secrets. It's one of his 20 books that he wrote, and it shows how Michelangelo coded into the Sistine Chapel all sorts of pro-Jewish Kabbalistic messages. So to speak, like ha-ha, kind of like... so that was one of the things that he told me, and that there are many things there. And the final question is, what else is in the Vatican? And he says it's not clear that they have the menorah or not. The what's depicted on the Arch of Titus. However, I will tell you. But he said that Lustiger knew nothing about it, and it would have been something that a Jewish Lustiger might have inquired about. And he said, but it could be that they kept it from him because he's still a Jew. He says, Lustiger stood alone among all the cardinals. He had not one friend. The Pope was his friend a little bit. He says, a Jew bleibt a Jew. Am levadad yishkon. He could be the Pope, he could be the Bishop of Paris. Nobody trusts the Jew. He's still the Jew, after all is said and done. But I can recall a story about a visitor that I had in days when I moved from Israel to Lawrence. A fellow came to the Aguda where I was davening and told me that he was also a Baal Tshuva who studied art in the Vatican, who told me that he was taken by people through the catacombs and they had the menorah there. Had it there. It's there. And Rabbi Blech said that they definitely have the paroches of the Kodesh Kodashim. And it's torn. He says, and that corroborates the story about Titus that stuck his sword into the paroches. So hopefully the paroches and menorah will get out of there. As they continue to decline, continue to rise, and we'll have it back for the rededication of Chanukah and Habisorah.